questions from the floor, we'd be happy to take them.
Well, to ask an obvious question, but if any of you are elected in terms of job creation and getting that whole ball rolling, is there any ideas out there for how that could happen?
Yeah, certainly within Fís Nua's manifesto, the whole onus is on helping smaller businesses start up, and that's from a number of tax incentives. Or, if we own the banks and we own all this property that now is inherited, that this property should be released to small businesses at a reduced cost, or for a period of so long, I don't know how much we decided on, but to allow that business to develop and get its seed going and get its capital going. As well as we're going to try and bring in as well investment from abroad, which every country likes to do. But the interest in Fís Nua is to develop the resources of our own country. We have great power in our waves and our wind, which is not fully developed. We have our oil, our forest, and our agricultural land. But apart from the resources of the country, people who, this is a country that has created great miracles around the world from its citizens. We've gone to foreign fields and we've brought water where there's desert, we brought healing where there's sick. And this is all because those citizens were released from the shackles that currently exist in Ireland in its past, that prevents people who have business ideas from getting off the ground. So Fís Nua's policy would be to encourage those people who do have the ambition and the drive to create economy and to create jobs, and help them in every way possible to get off the ground.
Well,
hope that answers your question.
I welcome this new party because I like your ideas, and I am sick of the corruption that's going on. You were saying, Pat, you were part of the Green Party. They started off with great ideas as well, and look how they've switched. What, I suppose, insurance can you give us that you will stick to your ideals?
Well, that's a very good question, and because of the mistakes that we learned from the past, we have within our constitution a recall system, whereby if somebody who is elected by our party, as a member of our party, doesn't do what it says on the tin, basically, we can have a recall system within the party, and we're also looking for a national recall system that would allow people, a certain number of people, to recall TDs within constituency areas to say, well, you're not doing your job. So we have it within our own constitution, it's agreed upon, and we want to spread that as a national policy, that this country can withdraw TDs who are involved in corruption, in criminal activity, in brown envelope situations. We want to put an end to that, and we're absolutely committed to that.
I welcome that.
Hi, I'm just a student writer with a few lead newspapers and with my college paper over in DOT. I'm just wondering, this is one question specifically on corporation tax. After you mentioned tax incentives there to get the SMEs and the MNCs moving again, I was just thinking to myself, corporation tax got us over €700 million more than expected last year. Do you not think that with businesses such as Google paying 2% tax by relocating their tax in different countries through the Double Irish scheme, which I'm sure you heard it through papers such as the Irish Times, we need to have streamlined corporation tax which is determined on income for MNCs and SMEs. I would ask you, should we not tax those who earn the most? Would you agree that tax breaks should go mostly to Irish SMEs who are going to be here in the long run, and not to unloyal MNCs who could be only here for periods of 5 to 15 years?
That's quite a few questions, so I'm going to break it down into certain points. I'm going to let Ben answer the economics of it, but I do believe that the Irish SMEs and people who are from Ireland and investing in Ireland and creating jobs in Ireland should be given every possible benefit from this government to get Ireland up and moving again, without us being subservient to foreign corporations. Now, from the SME point of view, from Irish industry, driving Irish industry forward, my colleague Ben is going to answer the rest of you.
Yeah, sure. We have to take a party position on it as well, a little bit further on our foot. What I would say is that there is a European restriction in terms of the progressive corporation tax, okay, which would, a lot of members would favour, so that people who are smaller wouldn't be quite taxed as much. Okay. All right. But there's also the whole question of how much do you tax the people who
see what you mean, yeah.
No, I would broadly agree with you on that in terms of people have to pay their way,
well,
but we have to look at.
You could argue that if you put it up to maybe 14.5, the likes of Google, the higher ones, I can't see them all leaving in for a slight 2% rise. While keeping 13.5 and 12.5 or 12.75 for the likes of sole traders and small businesses.
So there's some scope.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, just on the subject of businesses, and on the skill talent of Ireland, we're losing a lot of skill talent to foreign fields. People put a lot of emphasis on these other corporations coming into Google and Dáil were in for a while and then pulled out because, the same thing happened in the north of Dublin. They came in, took their tax incentives and cleared off. And that's just been the way governments in the past have thought. But this country is capable of great things from its people. And there's no reason why we can't provide our own industry in dealing with these things. I remember when I worked at a call centre many years ago, the reason the call centre was given to Ireland, and it was for the BBC and not in BBC, is because they said that the Irish were more pleasant people. And that was the reason that industry took a decision to place it in Ireland. We can have our own software companies here, we can have our own pharmaceutical companies here, we have the education, and all we need to do is invest in ourselves as governments and not in foreign corporations.
Can I actually add something to the question that you asked about the bailout? I would see it because create a lot of employment at home very, very slow. Our banks are empty. Internationally, we looked at very favourably at the moment because we're unstable. I would look at our own communities to try and create some employment, take a little bit of power back ourselves. And I have a couple of small ideas. One idea I had was that at the moment the unemployed would see themselves as, it's helplessness at the moment for them. But if you were to get every unemployed person in the country at the moment to just put €1 a week, that's actually 25 million a year. And that 25 million a year could be put to, with some match funding then, could be got for that as well. It could be 50 million a year, which then they could actually create cooperatives, look at local based things, look at all their skills base within themselves and give them enough money to create their own skills base. And then they could found this cooperative and provide their services and their skills to the local towns, whatever as well. Another thing I would see is, if you could imagine that nobody bought only Irish products in Tesco nationwide for 2 weeks, there'd only be Irish products on the shelves. So I think people are going to have to be educated in that food, that's what they're going to have to do. And that will then change the face of everything when we start to create sustainable jobs here. But that's a very, very simple thing. €1 a week is probably worth 50 million to the unemployed people. And that's the type of thing that I think we need to do at the moment. Because that will get people's heads up. And that's what, and could then start creating community-based things and whatever as well. Take a little bit of power back from ourselves. While it takes, the government parties and the bigger powers to try and sort out some sort of a mess as well, So that's just some ideas I have.
To that as well, part of our platform employment as well would be flexible employment. People could work less for your employing for others as well. So that's another angle that isn't always promoted very widely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's another avenue there. And it's important to work that with debt easing proposals that we have as well. That can come in from the ECB or other possibilities as well. Because obviously, it has to work in sync. So.
Point there. Sure. Alternative currencies, in my opinion. So, in other words, a group of people. Let's say you have an idea to create jobs. You can actually, using say a system like similar to Let's or that, you can actually create your own currency if the will is there and the group of people come together. They've got an idea of how they can come up with a new idea to create a business and to create employment. In the absence of banks, which is where we are at the moment, where the money and the liquidity is not there, you can actually come together using Let's and create your own currency amongst a group of people. It's something that I've studied a good lot, and I think that this is the time when people need to be looking at that, and that's locally based currencies. Okay, so individual currencies for different tasks. So you've got a situation where you've got 20 people unemployed come together. They might have all the skills to create the jobs, but they don't have the seed capital. They can actually create the seed capital themselves using that. Not totally, but or exclusively, but you can certainly go a long way towards it.
What's your view on the sale of 1.5 million acres of Irish land by present forest managers?
So we have it within our policy that we are totally opposed to the sale of any of our Irish resources to any private investor, be that Irish investors or foreign investors. The resources of Ireland, that our oil, our forests, our oceans, our rivers, our ore, everything above ground and below ground belong to the people of Ireland. And we should be using those for our energy security, our food security, and our national security for the future. So those resources are not for sale as far as we're concerned.
My next question is for you, sir. Why would it not make sense now to have Europe's most valued currency to boost exports? I mean, I don't know as much about regional currencies as you, because you've obviously studied more. Surely regional currencies would be worthless without economic output behind them. I mean, 20 unemployed people get together, what they got to back up, the new currency that they're trading between themselves and other people.
Okay. I'll back it up with an example. Switzerland. Okay. Switzerland is known as one of the most resilient economies in Europe. And Switzerland have operated there are two currencies operating alongside the Swiss franc. There's a WIR currency and there's another currency, I can't recall the name of it, but the other currency is even more interesting, where you've got massive corporations moving millions across between each other using an alternative currency, believe it or not, other than the French franc. So I'm not just talking about at a small level. This can operate business to business as well. They can create their own currencies just as well as individuals can in a group. So it can be scaled up.
And as regards a new national devalued currency, I'm sure you know the 1993 start to the boom began with a heavy devaluation of the pound. So would you be in favour of currency